Dear students, in the previous lecture, we studied about the seminiferous tubules which are present in the testicular lobules, and they are the structural and functional unit of the testis. These seminiferous tubules form sperms and lead to rete testis. Rete testis leads into the vasa efferentia. Vas efferens is singular. Then, now till this structures, these structures all are present in the testis itself. We already know about it. Now we are coming out of the testis and we are very much within the scrotum. Now it will go to epididymis. Epididymis leads into the vasa deferentia. Vasa deferentia enters into the abdomen and then it enters the ejaculatory duct. Ejaculatory duct leads into the urethra, and then there is penis. So in today's lecture, we shall be studying about epididymis, then vasa deferentia, then ejaculatory duct, and then urethra, and then about the penis. And definitely we shall be studying about the male sex accessory glands. As I told you, there are three glands. One is the one pair of seminal vesicles, one large prostate gland, and one pair of Cooper's glands or bulbourethral glands. Before we discuss this one by one, let us look at the diagram. Let us see where these parts and how these parts are associated with each other. Dear students, now understand the diagram. This is the diagram drawn on the board of male reproductive system. Now let us see. This structure, let us start with this epididymis, because after the vasa efferentia, epididymis comes. This is the epididymis. Epididymis. We will explain everything one by one. We will write some points about every part. This is epididymis. Then after the epididymis, from the caudal end, from the tail end of the epididymis, because the epididymis has three parts. Vas deferens emerges. Vas deferens emerges from the lower end of the epididymis. This is called vas deferens. Now this vas deferens enters the abdomen, I told you through the spermatic cord. This is the spermatic cord. That I told you it is a structure inside the inguinal canal. it contains or it carries blood vessels, nerves, lymph vessels, and vas deferens. This is the vas deferens which leads which enters the abdomen. This vas deferens. This is epididymis. Now this vas deferens loops over the ureters and urinary bladder. Both we can say. This is the, you can say, urinary bladder. And this is the urinary bladder, let us say. This is the urinary bladder. And these are the two ureters. These are the ureters. This is ureter. Ureter. And this is the urinary bladder. Urinary bladder. And the vas deferens, after entering the urinary bladder, becomes a bit dilated. This dilated portion is called ampulla on both the sides. Then this duct of the vas deferens meets the duct of the, this is the duct, this duct of the seminal vesicles and forms a common duct, this one. This is known as ejaculatory duct. Ejaculatory duct is equal to duct of the vas deferens. Vas deferens is carrying sperms. And duct of the seminal vesicles, which are the accessory glands. These are two glands. They pour their secretion. Now sperms plus the secretions of the seminal vesicles, they are through the ejaculatory duct. Then at the base of the, it comes out of the urinary bladder. At the base of the urinary bladder, there is present one large gland which is called the prostate gland. And this is called prostate gland. And this is seminal vesicle. Below the prostate gland, there is one more gland, smallest gland, that is known as the Cooper's gland. Cooper's gland. Now this duct, taking the secretions from the prostate gland and the Cooper's gland, it opens into the urethra. This is called urethra. This urethra then opens to the outside by the urethral surface, and from here, from the prostate gland, from here onwards, this one, and this penis starts. This is penis. Again, this is ejaculatory duct. Ejaculatory duct carries the secretions of the prostate gland, which is present at the base of the urinary bladder. Then it takes the secretions of the prostate gland and enters the urethra. Now there is penis. Penis and this part of the urethra, which is you can say around, which is inside the, or which is covered over by the prostate gland. This is known as penile. This is called prostate urethra. And around which this Cooper's gland is there. This is known as membranous urethra. Membranous urethra. And the part of the urethra which is covered over by the penis, this is known as the, you can write it over here, this is penile urethra. It means urethra is made up of three parts. One is prostate urethra, where prostate gland is present. Second is membranous urethra, where the Cooper's gland is present. And penile urethra, where the penis is present. This urethra is dilated at the end. And this is known as urethral orifice or opening, or you can say urinogenital aperture, because urine is coming and semen is coming. In case of man, in case of human males, that there is no separate opening or separate outlet for the urine and the semen, that is only one. This penis also forms a dilated or a thick portion. This is known as the glans penis. The glans penis is covered over by a foreskin, prepuce. It is prepuce or foreskin, which is retractable. This is the structure of the male reproductive system. Again, there is epididymis. We shall be discussing epididymis. Then comes the vas deferens. It is vas deferens or vasa deferentia, plural. Then comes the glands. One is seminal vesicles, prostate gland, then Cooper's gland. Then third, we shall be discussing about the ejaculatory duct. Ejaculatory duct. Then we shall be talking about the urethra. And fifth, that we will be talking about the penis. Penis is it is external genitalia. I told you scrotum and penis, they are part of the external genitalia. Until this place, we are talking about the male sex or male reproductive accessory organs, which are external genitalia, and these organs, these all are secondary sex organs. And then third, we shall be discussing about the last, that is the reproductive glands. I hope you have understood. Now let us study one by one. One is epididymis. Now students, we discuss first, that is epididymis. Try to understand, it's a very important part of the reproductive system. This is the epididymis. Epididymis is a very long tube. Number 1 point, long tube. And it has a length of about 6 meters. That is around, we say, 20 feet. It is elongated, otherwise it would have not got adjusted over here. It is located posterior to the testis or on the inner side of the testis. Inner side or posterior to the testis. That's why we cannot see much over here. Third, vasa efferentia open into it. Just think over the diagram yesterday we make of the testis, that is vasa efferentia open into it. And fourth part, this epididymis is divided into 3 parts. Upper means anterior. Upper part is called the kept epididymis. Then middle part is corpus epididymis, and the last part is cauda epididymis. Kept, it's not caps, it is kept. Kept epididymis, corpus epididymis, and cauda epididymis. This is the upper part, and this is the middle part, and then this is the tail part or posterior part. This kept epididymis is followed by vas deferens, which will enter into the abdomen through the spermatic cord. Now just understand it. When the sperms come out of the seminiferous tubules, they are totally non-motile. They do not have any motility of their own. Therefore, a large amount of fluid is secreted to push them into the epididymis. They do not move at their own. To push them or to propel them in the epididymis, a lot of fluid is secreted. Now, when the non-motile sperms enter the epididymis, where? That is kept epididymis, kept epididymis, e to the kept epididymis. That fluid by which the sperms were propelled or pushed into the capped epididymis, that fluid is reabsorbed. That reabsorption of fluid occurs. About 90% of the fluid is reabsorbed. Now this function of reabsorption is carried out by, it is by stereo ciliated pseudo stratified columnar epithelium. The wall of the epididymis is made up of pseudo-stratified epithelium. The cells are columnar in shape and they have stereocilia. They are not those cilia which provide motility. These are those cilia, you know what are stereocilia. They are concerned with absorption. That 90% of the fluid is absorbed. And there are circular muscles also in this, and they will be pushed again to the vas deferens by peristaltic action. But in the capped epididymis, these sperms, they become motile. They attain, not become motile, they attain a little bit of motility, become physiological maturity, and now they have the fertilizing capacity. Again, they attain motility in the capped part of the epididymis. Number 1, they become physiologically mature, active, and they attain the fertilizing capacity. But remember one thing, sperms become fully mature only in the genital reproductive tract or genital tract of the female. Otherwise, they are little bit motile, but they are not fully motile. Again, this epididymis is divided into 3 parts. Capped epididymis, I wrote it earlier, then corpus epididydum, which is the middle part, cauda epididymis. From this capped epididymis, first then they are able to be motile, and they attain a motility, and physiological maturity also occurs, and then they have it means they have got the fertilizing capacity, but not fully motile, not 100% motile, because this is done by absorption, is done by the stereocilia of the pseudo-stratified male reproductive system, pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium, not this is a lung, because its wall is made up of the circular muscles are also there. Then we come to the vasa deferentia. I told you vas deferens is singular. This is vas deferens. We have already discussed about the epididymis. Now we come to the vas deferens. It is a narrow tube, narrow tube. It arises from chorda epididymis. This is the chorda part from where it is arising. This one. This is arising from the chorda epididymis. Then it enters the abdomen, through the spermatic cord, it has entered the abdomen. Then it loops over the ureters and the urinary bladder, and it gets dilated. The dilated part, it loops over ureters and urinary bladder, and then forms a dilated portion. Dilated part is ampulla. And this is ampulla. This is the urinary bladder, and this is the ureter. Then it meets the secretions or the duct of the seminal vesicles to form a common duct, that is ejaculatory duct. It means it forms ejaculatory duct with duct of seminal vesicles. This is the ejaculatory duct. These are the seminal vesicles. This is the ampulla. And this duct of the vas deferens with the duct of the seminal vesicles, together they form what? Ejaculatory duct. But it again must be mentioned over here that the wall of the vas deferens is also made up of pseudo-stratified columnar stereociliated epithelium, and there are also present circular smooth muscles as the same as these were present in the epididymis, because sperms will move only with peristalsis. Peristaltic action will be there. They are not fully motile. Pseudo-stratified, again same wall is like epididymis. They also reabsorb. Their function is absorption, that is reabsorption. 90% maximum fluid is reabsorbed in the epididymis, but small amounts are reabsorbed in the vas deferens also. And we will be studying about the vasectomy. It is a sterilization method, permanent method of contraception method, that we will take it later on. It is the same vas deferens which is cut and then ligated, and that is called vasectomy. Students, now we Look at the ejaculatory duct. We have already told about it, that this ejaculatory duct is formed by the union of the duct from the vas deferens and from the seminal vesicle. It means there are two ejaculatory ducts. They carry sperms as well as the secretions from the seminal vesicles. Ejaculatory duct formed by duct from vas deferens plus duct from seminal vesicle, and this vas deferens is carrying already sperms, and this is carrying the secretions that we will study it right now after this. So it means the ejaculatory duct has sperms plus this secretions from the seminal vesicles. Now this ejaculatory duct enters the prostate gland, and then this is the prostate gland, and then it enters the Cowper's gland and then opens into the urethra. So we now discuss about the urethra. Urethra carries both sperms and urine in case of males. It means both open by only one opening, which is called the urinogenital aperture. Urinogenital aperture. Common passage. For urine and semen. The part of the urethra that passes down through the prostate gland is called prostatic urethra. It means we can say that urethra can be divided into three parts. One that passes through the prostate gland, it is called prostatic urethra, and that passes through the Cowper's gland. Cowper's gland is actually it's below, and it passes through. Then after the prostatic urethra, it is called the membranous urethra. It is the smallest part of the urethra, as well as narrow part, smallest part. Then comes the penile urethra, which is inside the penis, that is penile urethra. And all this urethra, along with the opening of the penis, that we call as the urinogenital duct. This urethra is also a bit dilated at the end, And moreover, urethra, there are two sphincters, internal sphincter and external sphincter, which control the opening and closing of the urethra. The prostatic urethra carries only semen. It is the this membranous urethra and the penile urethra. They carry both semen and urine. They carry both semen and urine from here, semen and urine both. Now we come to the part that is called the penis. That is penis. It is the copulatory organ in males, copulatory organ. And second, definitely, it carries both. It carries both semen and urine. And then this penis has 3 erectile tissue. Erectile tissue. Erectile tissue. It shows its erection. It gets erected at the time of sexual arousal, which is very important. Only then sperms can be shed into the genital tract of the female or of the woman. There are 2 types. 2 are present on the dorsal side and 1 is present on the ventral side. These erectile tissues which are present on the dorsal side are called corpora cavernosa, and that which is present on the ventral side, it is called corpus, because it is single spongiosum. It is the corpus spongiosum which contains penile urethra. Again, the erectile tissue is present. They are 3 in number. 2 are present on the dorsal side and 1 is present on the ventral side. The tissues present on the dorsal side are called corpora cavernosa, and those present on the ventral side, that is known as corpus spongiosum, and it is the corpus spongiosum which contains the penile urethra. Now, penis is dilated. It is called the glans penis. It is called the glans. It is dilated at the end. Very sensitive portion, glans, and it is covered over by a skin that is called the foreskin. I write it glans penis and foreskin, that is prepuce. The prepuce. Then there is present frenulum also, and there are also present one thing more, that is Tyson's glands. Tyson's glands. They produce smegma, sex smegma. It is a tradition in some Muslims, it is a tradition of the Muslims that they undergo circumcision. We also sometimes so that a lot of smegma means very smelling, but that is very needed because it lubricates the penis. Tyson's glands are present only in male and they produce smegma. Smegma is a white, cheesy secretion, cheesy, sticky secretion. That is called the smegma. And it must be mentioned over here that these Tyson's glands are modified sebaceous glands. They are modified sebaceous glands. Now, penis during sexual arousal, penis becomes a rigid structure. Because blood rushes in it in the penis. The blood vessels become dilated, and this is due to penis becomes rigid and hard during sexual arousal. This rigidity is due to the increase in blood supply to the penis. Increase in blood during sexual, penis becomes rigid and hard during sexual arousal due to increase in blood supply to penis. It is due to nitric oxide signaling. Nitric, it's not important at +2 level at all. Nitric oxide signaling, which acts as the second messenger. It is the second messenger. This is the erection of the penis. And remember one thing, that erection of the penis is under the control of parasympathetic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system का ये part है, that is parasympathetic. Erection of penis it is by parasympathetic nervous system. Then ejaculation. Sperms are ejected out and deposited into the vagina of the female. This is ejaculation. Ejaculation of semen. It is under the control of sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system. Again, this erection of the penis is under the control of parasympathetic nervous system. And ejaculation of semen, that is under the control of sympathetic nervous system. Now we come to the last part of this lecture, that is what is semen? Semen. It is alkaline fluid. Its pH is varies from 7.2 to 7.4, or even it can be 7.5. Then it contains sperms plus secretions from seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and Cooper's gland. Cooper's glands, seminal vesicles. These are the 3 glands which we will be studying after this. Again, it is alkaline fluid. pH is 7.2 to 7.4. It can be 7.5 also. 5 also. And then it contains sperms plus secretions from the seminal vesicles, or we can say that semen is equal to sperms plus secretions from the seminal vesicles plus secretions from the prostate gland and plus secretions from the Cooper's glands. And in one ejaculation, 200 to 300 millions of sperms in one ejaculation. In one ejaculation, 200 to 300 millions of sperms are ejected out in one ejaculation. And then out of these sperms, 60% should be motile. And 40% should be structurally normal. Their structure, that morphologically they should have the perfect structure. And one thing more, that the secretions from the seminal vesicles, it is 60 to 70% of the semen, 60% to 70%. And prostate gland secretions, 20 to 30%. And Cooper's gland secretions are 5% to 7%. Again, semen is alkaline in nature, alkaline fluid. Its pH varies 7.2 to 7.5. Normally it is 7.335. And then semen contains sperms, secretions from the seminal vesicles, which is 60 to 70% of the total semen. And this prostate gland, 20 to 30%. And Cooper's glands, that is 5% to 7%. And in one ejaculation, there are 200 to 300 millions of sperms are present. And for a normal functioning, that 60% should be motile and 40% should have a perfect morphological structure, or structurally correct. Thank you very much.